Blackstone Audio presents Just Plain Dick, Richard Nixon's Checker Speech and the Rocking Socking Election of 1952 by Kevin Mattson. This book is read by Keith Szarabajka. For Vicky, once more and with more. The 50s were not the Eisenhower years, but the Nixon years. That was the decade when the American lower middle class, in the person of this man, moved to engrave into the history of the United States, as the voice of America, its own faltering spirit, its self-pity and its envy, its whole peevish, resentful whine. The Nixon years belonged to the graduates of those courses in how to influence people, since it was no longer of value to win friends. Clerks who called themselves junior executives, young men ashamed of their origins and of themselves. Murray Kempton, Time and Nixon, November 13, 1962. The presidential candidate ought to think of himself as similar to the manager of a crew of house-to-house salesmen. His function is to give them confidence in their product. James L. Wick, How Not to Run for President, 1952. Every presidential election really is a self-portrait of America. Samuel Lubell, The Future of American Politics, 1952. Introduction. Portrait of the young political artist as madman, from the inner cranium to history. 1. If the brain waves of Richard Nixon had been read between September 18th and 22nd, 1952, they might have gone like this. Goddamn bastards want me out. They want to sack my political career. They don't have much on me, but they'll use what they have. That's how they play, those sluggers and smear boys in the liberal press. Here I am slumping in a chair in my train, just rattling along, heading out of California, my fair state, towards the soggy center of Oregon. And all I'm hearing from that fat little man who bubbles with fine political advice and fumes about my enemies is that the press boys are going wild with this thing. I could feel my eyes glancing back at that headline in the left-wing smear sheet, the New York Post. Secret rich men's trust fund keeps Nixon in style far beyond his salary. That was one bastard of a headline. What have they got on me? Not much. A crummy $18,235. A fund, given to me by businessmen in real estate, ranching, oil, and banking. Well, not directly to me. They gave it to Dana Smith, a fine tax lawyer and a friend of mine. And as Smith was talking to the press the other day, he paid me the biggest compliment I could imagine. He called me the best salesman against socialization. That sounded like a fine job description to me. A nice addition to having been a congressperson, senator, and now vice presidential candidate.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?